Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It has been a good little while since you've heard these dulcet tones in your ears. A little bit of podcast action for you on a Tuesday night. And I tell you what, it's good to be back. I am joined by my right hand man, my number two, my guy in the chair. It's Sol. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. It's good to be back.
Oh,
It's been a
you're
while.
telling me. It's great to be back. And we have a lot to talk about. Not only do we have a lot to talk about, we have a lot going on in the next few weeks with TFT content. There's a new set is on the horizon, basically, or at least a new half of a set is on the horizon. We've got more events coming up in the next month or so. We've got big news coming out, so we're going to be here to talk about it, basically, and hopefully with some cool and interesting people along the way as well. Guys, if you are new and listening, of course, we do stream this live on Twitch every Tuesday night, so you can come and join us if you desire. Let's kick it off. Sol, how's your break?
Mhm. Good. Yeah, just chilled. Didn't play as much TFT as I thought I would. So yeah, just took it easy. And yeah, had a good one.
Good, good. And this is a total opposite of what I was up to because I actually did play a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice
Nice.
it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling
Hmm.
getting in there and
Oh
like
yeah.
grinding the games out again. It felt really good,
Mm.
and I think we had a really good patch that made it really
Yeah.
enjoyable to grind
Our patch
games
is pretty
out.
good. Hmm.
Not like basically any of the first patches, but you
Sure.
can hear about that in 11 previous episodes, basically. Um,
Yeah.
let's start off small. We actually have a patch tomorrow, so we won't go too
Yeah.
in detailed into what we're playing at the moment. But I will
Hmm.
say, what sort of brought you the most success off the patch that comes out tomorrow?
Uh, Wait. So like, just like what I did well with this patch,
Yeah, what
you
you
mean?
did well, how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did.
I played a lot of different comps this patch. So like I said that I didn't play that much during the break, but I eventually started playing a lot again. So I'm trying to think because I played a lot of different comps this patch. I think the most consistency I've had is just playing around. I mean, surprise, surprise. Scion and Braum, Scion, Braum, Blitz, Janna, Yumi, flex around anything as your carry. It could be Jin, it could be a bunch of chalices, it could be Victor, it can be literally anything. It could be Fiora sometimes. So yeah, that's
Oh yeah,
basically what I've been playing.
very nice. Yeah, I've been playing around triple socialite basically
Oh yeah.
for the majority of the patch. I mean, I really like playing Urgot. I don't think Urgot's that great right now, but I have been playing a lot of Urgot
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
well. We will get into that when we sort of break the patch down. We got a few
Sure.
big things to talk about when it comes to the patch, really. So hopefully that'll spark a bit of discussion because they had a nice sort of 45, 50-minute video that went over everything that they was going on in the patch. And if you guys don't know about that, you can find all those on the Mort Dog YouTube channel. Let's get into it. I think into the patch rundown. Tell
Oh yeah.
me what before we even talk about what is being changed, what needed to be changed or what needs a change.
I think one of the elephants in the room is the econ traits. So Merc and Yordle. Spoiler alert: they didn't do anything to Yordle. I think that's a bit weird. Merc did get a bit of a nerf, which I think was very deserved. But yeah, I
Hmm.
think that's like the elephant in the room. And then there's a few other small things like chalice stacking being really really good. That needed a bit of a touch. Bodyguards as a frontline, combined with Scion, this patch has been really really strong. Like really really strong. So yeah.
Yeah, and let's get into it. I think another one of the big ones that a lot of people talk about, and I know this was a pretty significant um, cause for concern, is of course their
Mm.
first change, which is that they've nerfed the 5 cost odds. So at
Yes.
level 8, you have 5%
Thank God.
chance. You
Thank
had a
God.
5%
Thank
chance
God.
to hit a
Yeah.
level 8,
Hmm.
a level 5 champion.
Hmm.
Now you have a 4% chance, which equates to roughly, according to the math, about a 16 to 20% less chance to hit a 5 cost overall on any roll. Any full shop roll, basically. So, Sol. Deserved, but what's gonna happen to the meta after this?
It's big. I mean, for starters, I mean, they mentioned in the patch, you're gonna just see 2-star 5 costs way less consistently on stage 4. It's probably the biggest one. You're gonna like people. You can still hit 2-star 5 costs by donking at level 8, but like it's very unlikely. I think that this puts a bit more importance back on being able to build a board that can go 9, so you can actually find and 2-star your 5 costs consistently. So I think that's good. I think that it's going to overall lead to less like insane swings in variance. At a point in the game in which players aren't really equipped to do that. Like, common meme right now is that everyone is you full econ, you go level 8 and then you spirit bomb, you unleash your spirit bomb, you roll 60 gold and you just hit as much as you can, you hit a 2-star 5 cost, you hit a 5 cost pair, unique color, boom, and your board is just insane. I think that this is gonna really help. It's gonna really help make sure that that's not as broken. Yeah.
I'd like to say a special shout out to the guy who I played against on ladder today, who hit Tarm 2 at 4-3, and I hope I never play against you ever again.
It's just a player diff. What can I say?
So yeah. I think Mort mentioned quite heavily that this was a serious aim at the people who are stacking econ early on, and who have a significant health and gold advantage to be able to do this in the late game. I do think that, however, this probably means that, in retrospect, they should add a little bit of power to some of the 1-cost 5-star units.
1-star 5.
1-star 5
units.
Costs, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that
maybe.
I think that some of them definitely need a bit more love than others, and both Victor and Jinx did get buffs, which are good. Victor 1 got a little bit of a damage buff, which is very necessary. I think he's sort of
Victor's kind of good, but
Jinx,
we don't play Jinx.
We don't play Jinx. No, Jinx is a
we don't play Jinx. that unit is yeah.
So overall, I think it's going to do a significant amount to change the speed of the game in which the game is played.
Helps a
lot.
Well. Yeah.
I think it'll slow down around stage 5. I think you'll see people with like a lot of health still. Even in stage 6, I feel like you might see people 30-40 health.
I think
quite consistently.
Yeah, I think, as I was saying earlier, right, one of the big things that this new change punishes is it punishes people who overroll at level 8 with a board that's already stable. Like, they will like hit they'll roll down and then like they'll hit a board that's actually stable, that's good enough to go level 9, but they don't recognize that and they continue rolling anyway. And in the current state of the game, a lot of the time they're not even punished for not going level 9. They just randomly hit their 5 costs anyway, and you're just like, bro.
And everybody. I mean, it's very. You don't see a lot of people going to level 9 at the moment, especially. I mean, I don't think I've seen a level 10 at all in like a month.
Level 10. Oh yeah, I mean level 10's pretty. Yeah.
Like, so I mean, the incentive to go to those highest levels, as it were, is very limited. I think so. Sure. Overall, an interesting, a good change, one that I think is going to do very well. Let's talk next about the frontline problems that are currently going on, and that is Scion being too good, Brom, Leona, Blitzcrank being too good. They have Nerf Bodyguard. Basically, bodyguards now get more shields and less armor overall. So this is more than anything, I think it's an early game nerf, and they did speak about the fact that having bodyguards early was multiplicatively damaging to everybody else in the lobby because they couldn't play AD units. So AP units were invariably way more contested, and the whole lobby was playing AP units, and thus all of a sudden there wasn't enough for everybody, basically. Nobody could play everything that they wanted in the games. So what do you think about this? What do you think this is going to do to our front lines?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things is that like bodyguards as a whole just have better synergy tags than bruisers at the moment. Um, it's really easy to flex around two bodyguards as your sort of baseline. And the fact that Blitzcrank is scrap and scrap is just one of the most like the best like generic traits. Just makes like Blitzcrank and plus like one bodyguard like just incredibly easy to flex into anything. This obviously combined with the fact that Sion's also a protector for Blitzcrank, and it's just like they just work together so well. When you compare this to like Bruises, you know, like Mundo and Zac don't really work without Chemtech, so like you kind of have to play Urgot at that point, right? Like you can't, for example, you can't really play Mundo Zac with like I mean you can, but it's not very good with like Yone or like Jin, or, like literally anything that's not Urgot. But you can play Braum Leona with literally any board. You can even play Braum Leona with Urgot, and it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So bodyguards have this issue right now where A, they're the most flexible frontline, and B, they just are better than bruisers as well. So like they just have the better defensive trait because armor, as I said earlier, armor is a form of multiplicative scaling with things like HP and whatnot. Bruisers literally only have one bucket in that bruisers have a lot of HP, but they don't have a lot of resistances. So like they don't have anything to like help scale them later on in the game. But yeah,
Mm.
the god's always good.
Yeah, I think we'll
Plus they taunt.
definitely.
Plus they
Yeah, oh,
taunt.
they definitely
Yeah.
taunt, and that we'll see
Yeah.
some differences. I don't think that we'll see like way less bodyguards, to be honest with you.
No.
And then
We'll see probably just as many.
we'll see pretty much just the
Yeah.
same. But now they're also better against AP. They get a bigger shield. So
Yep, true. This is true.
I think that's very interesting as well. I think that they're kind of just the accepted auto frontline now. I think that
Mhm.
they haven't put the energy into making bruisers an excessively alternative viability, like differential to bodyguards. So basically, the idea is play the bodyguards that you get right now, and they're sort of saying that we understand that, but we also want you to not instantly lose when you're playing AD units in the early game to any bodyguards that people have.
Yeah. Particularly problematic is like full bodyguard, especially if you get it really early with like a
Yeah.
bodyguard crest. It just feels so impossible to beat
Mhm.
without like a last whisper early game. Like if you're playing AD, right? Like
Yeah,
you run
and
into that full bodyguard ball with your S2 without a last whisper, you're just like, bro,
yeah, and I
my
mean,
unit's just tickling them.
not only that, it's
Yeah.
like Leona gives armor to people around her as well. So it's
Yeah.
okay. Oh
It's like
god.
the units are good as well, so it's like,
Yeah.
dude.
However, that won't be a problem anymore. As we talk, we will touch on a little bit later. They have changed the hearts and the crests.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that
Sure.
in a little bit though. So a lot of talk from Mort about Colossus, as there were Scion nerfs to Scion's mana. So specifically stating that Mort didn't want things Brom and Scion to be casting 2 to 3 times every fight. And they said that in this discussion, they basically said that they still don't have a fix to Colossus. They still don't know how they're supposed to fix Colossus. You and I have both been on this podcast a lot talking about the issues with Colossus. I've just got down, what do we think of this? And I'm going to start this time, and I think it's some fucking garbage, and I hope they don't bring it into the next set.
I think it's a set 6.5 angle, and we just remove this. We just remove this Frankenstein trait out of the game. I'm fucking down. But yeah.
The units themselves, so cool. Galio doing a big jump, whatever. Scion being this big machine tank, insane.
Yep.
Cool. Cho'Gath, I got no problem with Cho'Gath. I do, however, have a problem with them saying that they still don't know what to do with Colossus, and the set 6.0 is almost over. So
I mean, Colossus was just a mistake. I mean, we were blatantly nerds at this point. It's just like these units are just not balanceable, to be honest. Like even now, they just feel. I think now they're in a decent state, and they still feel so oppressive to play against. It's just part of it is also the meta. Like for example, like the prevalence. I mean, I don't think it's as bad this patch. It was worse last patch, but like prevalence and power of Tahm Kench made it so that like if you played a non-Scion frontline, your tanks like are very inconsistent because they just get gobbled up by Kench. Whereas a Scion can actually just straight up cock block the Tahm Kench
Yeah.
and then you're chilling. And there's like no downside to running Scion other than you need it to be a 2-star Scion, because if you play 1-star Scion, you're going 8th. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
And every time you didn't have Scion on your board, it just felt like, fuck, I can't, I want Scion. Like, bro. It's so broken.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I just think, like, one of the lessons that I think we can take from Colossus is that giving frontline units CC immunity, no fucking bueno anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think they can do it. I don't think they can do it. It does not make the game enjoyable or interesting.
It's one of the biggest problems. It's actually, in my opinion, it's actually one of the biggest problems with Colossus is that there's almost like, other than Shroud, and Zephyr, I guess maybe, but Shroud is probably more consistent. But like, there's very few ways to counterplay against it because you're dealing with a tank that literally cannot be crowd controlled. So like, where you position your crowd control does not matter because you cannot CC their tank, and the tank is always gonna just, especially with the like Scion that ults all the way to the back line, just gonna smack your entire team and stun them for 3 seconds every time. Yeah.
I mean,
oh great.
Yeah, so they did nerf Scion's mana by quite a significant margin, I might add, to allow for extra counterplay. I think it's a nice thing. I don't know whether or not it's going to be significantly helpful in the grand scheme.
I think this is a real move in the right direction because I think Scion needs to be a good unit. Like, I as much as I hate it, like Scion probably needs to be a good unit. Takes up 2 slots. Like, he's a fucking Colossus. He should probably be pretty big. He should probably stun a lot of things. But yeah, Scion casting like 4 or 5 times in a fight is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I like that this also, as Mort mentioned, it does make him even more susceptible to Shroud, which I like that a lot. I like that Shroud is... I mean, Shroud is already a really good item, but it does open up that further up as a form of counterplay for Scion-based frontlines.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. It's good. It's good as well. I think that the real interesting part of it all is like, where does the meta go from here? Because there was basically no touching of any Sin except Katarina getting a buff.
Yeah, that one's kind of...
And there's a lot of Sins in the meta right now already.
A lot of Sins in the meta right now, yes.
I think there's a serious chance that we see a very oppressive Sin style meta. They did nerf Shaco by 5 AD.
Talent unit though, I don't know how he's getting through untouched.
That Echo unit. Honestly, there's definitely a lot to change. But
the fact that you can one-trick Sins, and just flex between 3 different carries is kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. It's honestly, I mean, one of my favorite things about the set at the moment really is the flexibility that we have, you know. And I think the difference between the sorry, I've been sidetracked because we got a raid on the Twitch, guys.
We got a raid, yeah.
We got a raid, yeah. Sorry, guys. For the podcast listeners, I'm really sorry, guys. I just want to say a big shout out. If you are listening to the podcast, you will hear me talk about someone named Milo, who is a very close friend of mine. She streams Teamfight Tactics. She is a sweetheart and a very kind person, and I thank her very much for the raid. Thank you very much, guys. Go follow her, Twitch TV/Milo Bentley. All right. While I'm sorting this out, let's carry on because no, you don't have to be sorry. It's great. I can't ignore you. It's impossible. Let's talk Seraphine. Seraphine had a change, and there's some interesting talk from the devs about Seraphine that I wanted to bring up and discuss with you. You know, the person that I trust the most to talk about TFT with. So Mort says that Mort said in the rundown that Seraphine's not an enchanter, thus they don't want her healing to be too prevalent and the most prevalent part of her ability. They want the damage to be the most prevalent part. However, the previous patch, they buffed her healing, and they also nerfed her damage to compensate for Morello's. Now, they're nerfing the damage. Sorry, they're nerfing the healing.
They're nerfing the healing.
And keeping the damage. And keeping Morello's the same. So my question to you is, what the hell is Seraphine?
What the hell is Seraphine?
If she's not an enchanter, and they're not really. They want her to be a damage dealer, but they nerf her damage over and over again. So what is she? Is she just a synergy bot now? Is she just a Morello's holder? Is she still a reasonable carry?
Seraphine is okay. So Seraphine is really weird because Seraphine is this unit that like has two pretty good tags, but like neither tag actually synergizes with most boards, so it's hard to fit her in, even though her spell is really good. You can't make her an enchanter because then her tags are way too fucking good. Like, could you imagine if she was enchanter, socialite, innovator? Because you can't make her an enchanter because the tags are then way too fucking good. So she falls into this really weird place of like kind of DPS, kind of utility with her healing. Yeah, I don't know. I like Seraphine a lot as a unit. I think her ability is really fun. I think it's really cool, really satisfying to watch it like heal your team and hit the enemy team for an infinite. I think that at the moment, yes, the healing is probably too high. I think that probably needs to get cut a little. And yeah, they did buff the damage, right? I mean, it could just be the chalice meta right now, but the damage feels pretty high, especially when you stack chalices. But I don't know. Seraphine's just this really weird unit from like a design standpoint that is like just it just doesn't really belong to anything. She's like kind of like a flex unit that you can always put in, but like she's like Ezreal, and Setting says Setting in chat says she's like Ezreal in set 4. She's kind of like Ezreal in set 4. If anyone remembers in set 4, Ezreal was a legendary that like both traits barely mattered. That you would just randomly slot in, because his ability was good. So I think like Seraphine's kind of like that.
And don't forget, in the PBE, she did have a Dazzler effect where she slowed attack damage.
We didn't talk about
enemy.
that.
So
that was nightmarish.
That was the idea for the idea for this unit was to be a carry originally, and I think that they've done a lot of messing around with Seraphine, trying to figure out where she fits, how to fit her. I will say that this makes me relatively confident that a unit like that will not appear in 6.5. I think because I don't think they're getting it right. They still haven't got Seraphine right. It's either too good or not usable in any comp that you really want to play. So
I think Seraphine is just like awkwardly in a set that has a ton of what she does already in the set.
Yeah.
You know? Like Ori, Janna, or like Taric. Like there's a lot of units that already do what she does. Sorry.
And it's also you're right. It's baked into the ornaments as well. A lot of it like bonus
even more
healing, bonus healing, bonus shielding, extra socialite hexes,
extra enchanter, like all those sorts of things.
Because she, as we know, she's not an enchanter.
She's not an enchanter, but she may as well be. She's not an enchanter.
I mean, if you get first aid kit and an enchanter heart or something, you're basically you can play Seraphine for free, basically.
I mean, do you ever not play Seraphine in your enchanter forts? You always play Seraphine.
Exactly. So she's caught a little bit because she literally cannot be made an enchanter, but she probably should have been. So a heal should have been way worse. So in the end, the unit is stuck a little bit. And that makes me think that we probably either we see a revamped version of Socialite or we don't see Seraphine in 6.5. That would be my overall assumption. We had one more point that we wanted to discuss from the patch notes coming out tomorrow. And that was they're changing the crests and the hearts. Now, Mort said that they were vehemently opposed to having 3 costs drop out of either of these. And that is reflected in basically a significant nerf for most of these crests and these hearts. As we were mentioning before, Bodyguard being a serious problem, no longer drops you a Leona.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That is a really big one. So talk to me a little bit about this change. I mean, now protectors, you don't get 2 costs. You don't get any 3 costs. So it's all 1 cost and 2 costs now, and it's actually mostly 1 costs. Things like Protector and Mutant have been changed to Cassidon and Garen in order to, I guess, sort of streamline all of this kind of thing as well.
I mean, it just honestly, it just always felt weird that like some of them gave threes and some of them gave ones. Like, huh? And I'm surprised that they didn't do this sooner, and especially like when they changed Zach from Chemtech Cart to Warwick. Like, shouldn't they have just changed Leona down to Blitz at the same time? Didn't really
Yeah.
make sense. I mean, bodyguards
No.
were still good back then. Bodyguards were for sure good back in that meta as well. So I'm not really sure how it took them so long to get to it, but you know we got there eventually. I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. I think that these trait augments that are like often very powerful because they sort of glue together all these synergies. Yeah, you're getting 3 costs out of it is just the amount of strength your board gains is just very very high, and
Yeah.
it can lead to exactly, and it can lead to some I mean some really skewed early game boards like you take Leona and then all of a sudden you just hit like Leona 2 like really really early, and then your board's like infinitely stronger than it probably should be as like a small example, but yeah, I think overall this is good. I think that they should give 1 to 2 gold, not 3 gold of value. So yeah.
Yeah. And a quick note that a couple of the other ones were not supposed to give you a gold, but they do, and they've kept it in. Mercenary now gives you 1 extra gold when you take a mercenary emblem.
Yeah. Wait, I don't understand. Wait, I mean, was Merc giving you 1 gold before?
Yeah, it
Or
was giving you an invisible gold. It was basically giving you a gold in your thing, but it wouldn't pop
what the
out like a
fuck?
1 gold. Like it wouldn't
Yeah, I
pop
never
out onto the
noticed this.
board.
I never noticed this. Wait, so you're telling me every time I've taken Mercon, my gold kind of just gone up by 1, and I've
Yeah.
not noticed.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so they're streamlining it. They're making it so that actually does give you a gold. We have one more little thing that I wanted to discuss, and that was the fact that our little metabolic accelerator, who gives you 2 HP every round, if you're not familiar, is no longer working on PvE rounds. So it's sort of streamlined with literally everything else in the game, because nothing else works on PvE rounds. You don't get a Yordle, you don't get a Merc stack, etc. 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 A good
you didn't get an egg from Draconic last set. Like yeah.
So a bit late maybe, but good.
A little late, but it's
anyway.
better late than never.
Better late than never, definitely, and a good way to streamline it. I think it's much fairer that way.
I also appreciate some of the rarity bump of Portable Forge from Prismatic to Gold. I think that's gonna make it a lot more playable, and I'm looking forward to taking that. I actually think it's quite good now. At Gold, Portable Forge, I actually think it's like quite solid.
Yeah, me
so
too.
yeah.
Especially after the recent buffs to some of the items as well.
Oh well, a lot of them got nerfed again because it's
Yeah.
it's a tier 2 now, not a Prismatic anymore. But you know, that's okay. I think that like that's a decent amount of power. Like that's the sort of baseline for power of a tier 2 is an item plus a bonus effect. Be the way to think about it. You think about like augments like Salvage Bin that just straight up gives you an item plus you have more flexible itemization. Scrapyard I think is another one where it's averages like if you get it early, I think it's like 2.5 or like 3 items of value, but it's given to you over a longer period of time. It's not directly front loaded to you. So basically, the long story short of it is like a tier 2 augment should roughly be worth like 1.5 to like 2 items, and an Orn item is an empowered version of like a regular item, right? So yeah.
1 to 1.3 of an item, I think I would fairly say. So
basically, yeah. You get less raw value because it's front loaded to you, but like your board's gonna obviously spike sooner. So yeah, so you get that trade off.
I will ask you quickly. I just have thought of one thing. They buff for scrap. What do you think about that, mid game wise? Scrap's always been pretty good. And a bit more shielding across the board is always very valuable.
Yeah, I don't know if Scrap needed the help. Scrap's always been really, really good. It's still really good. Like, I think right now, honestly, if your endgame board does not play 2 Scrap, I'm pretty sure you're trolling. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, I'm pretty sure every board right now.
Every board has Janna Blitzcrank on it.
Yeah, or just some way to get like 2 Scrap in. Like, just figure out a way to do it. Like, cause it's infinite shielding on everything and every teammate, and like it usually lets you kill the odd component you get, because like I think it's like you get dropped between 12 to 14 components. Sometimes you get dropped 13 components. It helps you kill a component, actually get a full item out of it. Yeah, the value of scrap is already really high. Obviously, you don't really see any scrap vertical. Like, you don't really see people play like 6 scrap anymore. 4 scrap late game also is not really a thing. I mean, I like that if you somehow ended up with like a scrap spat or like a scrap hut, you get a little more value. You get a little more incentive to dip into a 4 scrap. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly. And I think one of the things that's holding people back from playing 6 scrap, not only is it hard to like get the perfect, because you need junkyard and then you need the extra item and then you need healing, the shielding one.
It's mostly binary.
Binary
that
yeah.
you need,
So
but
you
yeah,
need
binary is the one that
and
pushes
then you
over the
need
top.
the shielding and healing, and then besides, like, you really need those two. The other thing is Jinx sucks. Jinx
sucks.
So bad.
It's so bad. That unit, holy shit.
And so you have to
How
play.
did they even nerf it?
Yeah, and so the Jinx buff, the Jinx buff also helps late game scrap, I think. It lets her get into her rocket form quicker and do more damage when she's there. So that is significantly helpful.
I'm gonna quote Ramkev real quick from our friends over at the Triforce podcast. I was listening to one of their pods recently. Ramkev was basically like, "What if Jinx fired the massive rocket and she didn't jump on it? She just fired the rocket, and then she stands where she's currently standing and she whips out her rocket launcher.
Oh, God,
wouldn't that be such a better unit?
Yeah, it would be a better unit.
Wouldn't that be such a better freaking unit? Oh God.
But then you wouldn't get to live your full powder ascendancy.
Yeah,
like
I don't know. I think a unit that like is so unsafe, compromises herself so much, like Jinx, like
needs a 3000 shield.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I just think that it needs like more strength to it. You know, like I don't know, like CC immunity, so you don't have to build QSS or some shit, or like more damage, so like more front loaded damage on her rocket, so that like I don't know. I think that unit needs some buffs, cause like out of all the like the 5-cost carriers, like she's just so unsafe. Like you think of the 5-cost carriers, right? You think of Kai'Sa, literally unkillable. You think of Akali, literally unkillable. You think of Jace, he sits in the backline, literally unkillable.
Yep.
Jinx dives in, gets CC'd by Yugi, and dies immediately. It's freaking unit, man. It was just very funny.
God, that's.
Oh, we even mentioned Victor. Victor sits in the backline, doesn't die. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all the main things we wanted to talk about, guys. In the description of this podcast episode, if you do listen online, you will find a link to the patch notes and a link to the rundown if you do want to listen to Mort's version. But those were the highlights. Sol, have I missed anything that you wanted to talk about in this rundown?
I think that's roughly about right. Let me just quickly thumb through it real quick. I think that's oh yeah, Thrill of the Hunt 3 removed from the game. Thank God, that augment sucked. Jesus Christ. Oh, there's another Syndicate 7 buff, which is kind of weird actually, right?
Yeah, they nerfed the armor early, the early armor.
Okay, but it's a 60% bonus now. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting. It's pretty small.
And they nerfed Zyra and Shaco.
Yep. Oh, and they buffed Frontline Jace. I like that a lot, because I think Frontline Jace is a bit underwhelming. I think Frontline Jace obviously started the set being really, really OP. And they just, like, it just took a few too many nerfs, and so Frontline Jace has been a bit underwhelming. I mean, Jace, to be fair, is still insane. Like, backline Jace right now is incredibly good. So I think some more, I think some small buffs to frontline Jace helps push in the right direction. Because ideally, we live in a world where both frontline Jace and backline Jace are good options.
Yes.
I think that's pretty good for the patch.
There is a very low chance that Jace won't be good ever, basically. So he's just always going to be good. I'm really happy with the way that they've gone about it, though, to be honest. I think that having backline Jace be an option after the first the first few patches worth of like mediocrity is really nice, and it really presents a nice like late game differential option as opposed to locking yourself into trying to hit Jin 2 or losing, basically, if you're playing AD. Most importantly, I think Jace is like, I think honestly Jace carry, especially backline Jace right now, is like what they should be striving for with like 5-cost balance, like 1-star version is like, it's good, but it's definitely worse than a 2-star 4-cost. Definitely worse, but it's good. You can play it. And the 2-star version is really good, obviously, and it's better than a 2-star 4-cost, unless you cap out higher. He's a front to back champion, so he doesn't really do anything like particularly toxic in terms of like killing your board. But he also just hits like a truck. Yeah.
So yeah, he's like a truck, flexible itemization, really well designed unit. I think I really like Jace.
Yeah, me too. Me too, indeed. All right, well, let's move on. To be honest, before the podcast episode began, we decided as a duo that we wouldn't spend a significant amount of time on this, mostly because we will have a person from the series on next week. Oh, sorry, David. Can you reset your camera, if you don't mind?
Okay. Better.
Let's see.
That's freeze.
Yeah, you're frozen on my screen, but
I'm still frozen.
yeah.
Safe.
It's okay.
I don't know.
I will figure it
Bro,
out.
is it still bad?
Yeah,
Chat.
I'm not sure why that didn't work. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Sorry,
Any
everybody.
difficulties?
Boodaloop. Issue solved. You're back. Okay, continuing on. Let's talk about the Challenger series. We both decided to begin with that we're going to have a guest on in the next couple of weeks who will be a really good person to go in depth with this kind of thing. But we both watched the Challenger series. We know the winner, we know the results, and we want to talk about it.
Yep.
So most important thing is we get our opinions out there. We chat about it. It was the premier OCE event over the weekend, so it's really nice to get some like proper events in the region, and it's nice to see some familiar names doing well, etc. So for those of you unfamiliar, it was a 2-day event, and the final 8 from the initial 16 moved on to a final checkmate lobby. Sol, talk to me about the format of this event.
So the way checkmate basically works is there's like a point threshold that you first need to reach by playing, the games. You are heavily incentivized to go either first or second, because the way it works is, I believe if you go first, you are you enter what's known as checkmate. What checkmate basically is that once you reach that point threshold, you need to go first, and then once you go first, you win the tourney. So it's pretty it's like it's been fairly controversial in terms of like whether we should keep it as a format, because part of the argument against it is that it often results in somewhat skewed sample sizes and skewed like performances. Like if one player just has a particularly like very strong hot streak of games that like pushes them really, really far ahead. The fact that the tourney, in this case, the fact that the tourney can literally end in only 3 games is kind of crazy, right? Like, I mean, spoiler alert, Chuang won, right? He literally could have just gone. He went 1-1 in his first 2 games. In his third game, he could have just gone 1 again, and the tourney would have been done, and it's over. Done. All right, cool. That's our champion. 3 games, guys. 3 games. That's all it took. So that's part of the problem. To now play the devil's advocate, though, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. That's the big thing. It's fun to watch when it guarantees that the tournament always ends with a bang, right? It guarantees that the game that ends the ending game ends on like a first, like the winner gets a first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So from a viewing perspective, it has its merits. It definitely has its merits. It creates some really cool hype moments, really like high tension moments. Everything's on the line, and like all those split second optimizations, all those split second decisions matter, and I think that's really cool. But then yeah, it also at the moment has this issue of just resulting in tournaments with really low sample sizes, just over in the blink of an eye, and it's like I just feel like any game where variance plays a part, you've got to have that sample size. Otherwise, players just don't get to demonstrate the full, breadth of their skill. When as I said, when you literally play like 3-4 games and it's over, it's like, okay. I guess I high rolled, I win. I guess I low rolled, I lose. Okay.
Look,
So yeah.
I totally agree with you that the winner of a tournament winning the last game, great, so cool, really good incentive. The fact that it can be done so quickly is such a pain in the ass. It's so
It
boring.
really is.
If Chunga
Yeah,
had
it
just gone,
really is.
if Chunga had gone one like 4-1, for example, he would have won. He would have won the tournament. Basically, or whatever the points threshold is, 1-3-1 or something like that.
I think it's like 1-3. I don't think 1-4-1 got you in range, but I think it's like I think it was 1-2. Like if you're 1-2, you're in range.
It's
I don't know about
points,
1-3.
Right? Is it 18 points usually?
I think it is 18.
So it's
Oh,
1-2-1.
actually,
So you can go 1-2-1.
Yeah, so 1-2. Yeah. So you do need a top. You do need to get the first, and then you need to go to top two. But I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world. Right? It really is not the hardest thing in the world. Like that's gonna happen in a fair amount of time.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that makes it so interesting is really the ending game when 4 people can win. That's like best case scenario, right? You've got 4 guys who are all there, all battling. Oh, 2 of them have been eliminated and the other 2 are in top 4. Anything could happen. We don't get to that situation enough because the points threshold is so arbitrarily small, and the points for winning are so like skewed to the top, where 3 high rolls, 3 consistent, 3 well played games are just enough. So I think in my mind, I think the easiest solution to this is nerf the amount of points you get per win, or at the very least up the points threshold. If the points threshold is 30, all of a sudden you get a minimum of 4 games, not a minimum of 3 games.
Like I think that they really do need to strive for like a 4 or 5 game minimum, right? I think that we've kind of learned from just like running tourneys that sort of 5 games is sort of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Or a player being able to demonstrate their skill, right? I think anything less than 5, the sample just is very. It starts to just become very small, and it's
absolutely.
like was this guy was this guy the best player in the day? I mean, did he really play that well? And it's like, yeah.
And you and I have played professional card games before, where it's pretty common to have a like day 1 of a card game tournament be 9 rounds.
Yeah, and then day 2 is like another 7 rounds.
Yeah.
And then
you cut the top 8 is 5 rounds. You play
even more.
Yeah. So
you play even more.
Realistically, you're in a like, it's hard to compare TFT to anything. However, it does share relative similarities with the idea that the more you play, the more that variance will even out over time and the best players will win. It is absolutely the same in card games. So, if you're playing 17 rounds, 18 rounds just to be decided the winner of a 400-person tournament, a card game tournament, for instance, chances to say over those 14, 15 rounds of games, 14, 15 games, you have done the best. It is not like that in TFT because there's not enough, there's also not enough patience to play 14 games of TFT to even out variance.
Yeah, no, I mean, with TFT, you have to treat it a bit differently, right? Like, you definitely can't play like 10, 14 games. That's way too many games.
Yeah, it is too many. But there is a middle ground there, is what I'm saying, where you can find a balance of 5 or 6 games for happiness, basically.
Absolutely, yep.
It's just not... I love Chunga. We've had Chunga on the podcast. He's a great player. He's fantastic. He played... In the first 2 games, he played to his outs so well. He just did everything that could be expected of him to maximize his chances to go 1-1, basically. We won't get into the minutiae of every play he made being right or wrong, whatever it was, but by the end of the game, he had done enough in both games to win. He cashed out when he needed to cash out playing a Mercs game. He hit a great level 8 roll down in the other game. Not that I don't think that these things are overall inherently the greatest skill expression of TFT of all time. He's playing to his outs well, and he's doing what he needs to do. He's doing what he needs to do to win. So what more can you ask of somebody in that scenario who just needs back-to-back first place finishes to be in the cutoff to win, basically? So he's done well. He's done well to get there in the first place. It's just... variance would dictate that he would have more games like the game where he just cashed out after 3 losses and never recovered from it. Basically, like when he went 6th. So if you play more games, there's more chance that that the person who deserves to win will win, and the person who has been around and done everything they need to do to maximize their options will win as well. Tell me your thoughts on this? You're nodding your head, you're shaking around, you're laughing.
I mean, okay, a lot of analysis has already been done on Chunga's win. I'll say that like Chunga for sure is one of the best players in OCE, without a doubt. I mean, I'm not gonna really like flame anyone's performance and like shit talk too much here, because I don't think that's in my place to do. After all, I'm just some hot stock 800 LP challenger player, and these guys are like they're often like 1.2k, 1.3k LP players. They've been around for a while. I will say that in Chunga's case, could have played. He definitely did not perform the best of his ability. And it's been analyzed by a lot of players that are like a lot better than me, like Angora, Jose, Keith, and whatnot. The point is that like the checkmate format allows it so that like any player who experiences like a really heavy skew variance in their favor is to basically just run away with the tourney really, really quickly. Essentially, it's like if the sample size was bigger, basically, right? In an ideal world, Chunga's mistakes would like have a like decent shot of like catching back up to him, if that makes sense. But with the way that checkmate is structured, his mistakes essentially didn't really end up mattering because he was able to essentially what he did was good enough would be the way to put it. What he did, like how he played was good enough relative to like the favorable outcome of like the events like he experienced basically. It would be the best way to put it, you know? It's like if it was like a 6-7 game sample size, right? There's a very decent shot that like he gets off to a good start, but like let's say he keeps playing like the way he played, like he takes like a 6th or like he takes like another 6th or even like an 8th or a 7th at some point, you know? And that allows other people to like catch back up. Because it's the way I said it is, he got off to a really good start and then it ended. So yeah.
And that was done. That was it.
That's the general sentiment. Yeah.
So we will see. We will see Chunga. We will see Keen. And we will see Tamura in the mid-set.
Skillfulism, I believe, also made it.
And skillfulism. Yeah. The fourth
skillfulism.
Yep. Into the mid-set. That allows them an opportunity to qualify for the finals, which will allow them an opportunity to qualify for Worlds. So that's great news, and very big congratulations to all 4 of them. There is a hope that we will have one of those 4 on next week. I won't spoil it now, though. Guys, we want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for being here. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode more than anything, just because we're coming back after a while. We're a little rusty.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm drinking like pink gin right now. Dave is just, he's been at work and we're a bit tired, So we don't have a huge episode planned. In fact, this is pretty much it. So I want to give anybody the opportunity that's out there to ask questions. What's been going on? We have a couple of questions that we will answer, but if you're in the Twitch chat right now, twitch.tv/Cutler with a 3 instead of the E. Sorry, I have changed my name. I'm just basically just biding my time until Twitch gives me the actual Cutler name on Twitch because it's taken by a guy that doesn't exist. So until then, we've got some questions. Sol is our question master. He asked the questions. We sort of chat about it. We're going to go from there. If you have a question for us about TFT, about life, about card games, put it in the chat. We'll do our best to answer.
In the meantime, I took on the Chinese server recently. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know, of course, Sol also streams when we are not live, twitch.tv/Sol_TFT. You can follow him. He got on the Chinese server, played a couple of games, chatted about the
Oh.
meta difference on there, etc. And it's going to be really interesting. What's your goal for that account? Are you going to try and get the Masters?
I'm gonna like try to like grind the shit out of that account actually. Yeah. I got to plat this morning.
Nice.
Hoping to keep the train going. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, China as a region is insane. There's like 15 or 16 different servers, and I figured out which server I was on today. Yeah, I figured out which server I was on today, so like I can actually like find like the leaderboards and everything for that specific server. But it's pretty insane. So basically, it's like 16, it's like 16 different servers. Every server rank 1 is like 2300 LP. And then yeah, and there's like 300 Charlie slots or something every single server. And then yeah, but so it's a really big region. It's really cool though. So far the game quality has been really high, so I've been really enjoying the games. I mean even in plat, like the play quality is actually quite high. Like players know how to make boards. Like I'll just say that these players definitely know how to make boards, and it's like nothing's a sure thing. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'll say. I mean, it's interesting to see like a meta differences are also really interesting to see. I'll say that like Chinese players, they love playing Yone. They love playing Yone. Like you go to OC, it's like maybe one Yone player lobby. In China, dude, it's like 3 Yone players every lobby.
Hell yeah, dude.
They love that shit. Like
That's
I think
sick.
I had a game where there were just like 3 challenger hearts taken. I'm like, holy shit. The other thing, they love Sims. They love Sims as well. They absolutely love Sims. They play a lot of Shaco as well. So yeah.
Jerks.
But yeah, it is interesting to see like things like that, like meta differences and whatnot like that. But yeah, some of the games have been really fun. Yeah, I'm sure I have even more interesting things to say as I play more and more.
Love it. Yeah, bring us an update next week with how you
Oh
go.
yeah.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I think I will start us off by saying we got a couple of questions about set 6.5. It is right around the corner. PB is in like a week, 2 weeks actually, maybe. It's very soon. So I wanted to ask you, are there any? We have very few units that haven't been in the game yet. It's like Corki, Alistair, and Ramus, and the newest one.
Yeah, I thought Corki was meant to be in the set. Wait, didn't they say every unit like that wasn't already a unit was going to be in the
Yeah,
set?
and that was
I guess
they took a couple out, which probably means that we'll see some in the mid set.
I guess they just gave up. So
I think that we'll probably see Corki like. My guess is that Corki replaces Jinx, and he does like a big bomb.
I'm down for 5 cost Corki. They're just bombing runs around the field. I'm down for that. That sounds kind of fun.
That sounds great, and I think it keeps it thematic as well, which is very nice. Which I also think means they get. Oh well, they can't really get rid of Jinx, so maybe they
can't really get. Okay, let's be real. They can't get rid of Jinx. Okay, I feel like the Arcane champions all have flat armor. Like I'm pretty sure Arcane champions all have flat armor and cannot be removed.
So maybe they get rid of the mutant trait. Maybe they get rid of the mutant trait.
Mutant, I think has a. You could cut Kai'Sa. I think there's a good chance Kai'Sa gets cut.
I think the whole of the mutant trait gets cut, and you could actually make a new trait out of
because
like
you need to cut Colossus.
And you do need to cut.
Yeah, because like it's assuming Colossus gets cut, which it probably will, right? So like if Colossus gets cut, then Mutant loses Cho'Gath. You probably just cut Mutant at that point.
And you can't put another Mutant in, really, can you? Like after that, there's not that.
I mean, you could. You could make Silco Mutant. That wouldn't even be that weird. But yeah.
I think realistically, what we're gonna see is like Silco and Jinx have a partnership of some variety.
Yeah, they should have some kind of mechanic, right? Agree.
Which I could see. I could see them removing Vi then, or at the very least the sister interaction, and then having like the father/daughter interaction.
Just have sister and father in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true.
Just make a family, you know.
We're really just speculating here, but I would say if they don't get rid of Colossus and Mutant and Socialite and Clockwork, I would be very surprised.
In Clockwork, really?
Well, I think
Clockwork's gonna get cut.
I think that there's getting rid of Clockwork opens up 2 4-cost carry slots. The same with it also opens up an Enchanter slot as well, which I think they can do a lot with. Getting rid of.
I've kind of got sick of Jin anyway.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten sick of that. That unit's targeting AI is just the worst. I'm
No.
kind of got sick of that champion anyway. I'm down for them to cut
Yeah.
that champion.
So they don't get
Yeah.
rid of Chemtech, I don't think. If I can
I
speak
think Chem has the
freely.
say. Yeah, I think Chem for sure has the say.
I think
Yeah.
both Assassin and Challenger stay as well. I do also think that there's
Agree.
potential that something like the Enforcer trait gets removed, but the units stay.
Yep. I think there's a good shot Enforcer gets removed. Yeah.
And that we could potentially see there's like a lot of 4-cost carry room basically in the set to remove if they want to. They could remove Yone Fiora really easy. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they just remove Fiora altogether because they haven't really got the fantasy out of her that they wanted. As like
Really?
a
I feel like
tank
Fiora's.
buster.
I guess they can get the fantasy, but I feel like Fiora's in a pretty good spot. That unit's
She's
kind of
in
good.
a pretty good
Yeah,
spot. I mean, I don't.
I don't know if you've played Fiora carry much, but she's kind of good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've definitely played a bit of Fiora, but the thing is, like, it's taken them this long to get it even like close to being right. So I'm not sure that there's any
yeah. That's fair.
like there's a good reason to take out pretty much anything that they wanted to in this set. I would be surprised.
I think it's you go.
Be surprised if we didn't see some new 5 costs. Like there would be definitely room to remove like. Victor's got to stay.
Yeah. Oh man, it's weird when like the 5 costs, like when so many of the 5 costs are arcane characters, and the arcane characters have plot armor.
Yeah.
Like you can't take out Jinx, you can't take out Jace, you can't take out Victor.
Yeah, but you can. If we're saying that Colossus goes, we automatically lose the 5-cost tank.
It's Galio. Thank God.
So we lose a big tank, which means the tank could be replaced. I think that's an interesting prospect. I think that Kai'Sa could definitely be removed, so we don't have like a.
Kai'Sa for sure. Yeah.
Mixed.
I think Kai'Sa can easily go.
Any mixed damage unit. If they wanted to be like. I don't know. I think the thing is, there's a lot of ambition that I want them to take, and there's also realism, which is they don't have a lot of time between 6.5 and set 7 to get this right. So they can't do insane changes. Basically. So there's not like 100 billion.
I would like to see Yodel either like completely reworked or just removed from the game as well. I think that like a lot of people talked about this already, but like the fact that there are 2 econ traits in the game right now, it's kind of bad.
Yeah, too many.
Yeah, like when you don't like, okay, it's like right now the game flow is basically like, okay, did I hit a win streakable board? Yes. All right, bet. I'm playing for win streak. Or I didn't hit a win streakable board. Did I hit an econ trait? Okay, bet. I'm gonna open with the econ trait, 5 loss, and then spike at 3-2. None of these sentences is true. You're just like, oh shit, I guess I'm going AF.
Yeah. I guess that also leaves Merc in a weird spot as well. Because
I think Merc is hard to cut, and I think that they said that they don't want to cut Merc.
They shouldn't because it's the funnest in quotation marks.
Yeah, I kind of made my peace with Merc at this point. I get that it has to exist.
Yeah, and it's actually the way that it is right now is actually relatively balanced, I think. And they're also nerfing it. So I
think after the nerfs, it'll be in a good spot. I think right now it's still a bit too powerful, but I think after the nerfs, it'll be in a better spot. Yeah.
That pretty much covers almost everything. I would be totally surprised. Like, Jin staying seems weird to me because I don't think they can keep Clockwork because all the units.
Yeah,
are
you're
so
right.
Weird.
I'm thinking about it more, and I think you're right. I think that Jin Ori going is like a pretty reasonable shot. Both those champions aren't even like related to Piltover, like lore-wise. Yeah. Like those champions have nothing to do with Piltover. And you just take out both champions.
You get rid of Zillion Camille as well, which actually opens up new, like a significant amount of change in the early game as well.
Agree.
It's really nice to sort of mix those things up, and then of course if you get rid of Yordles, you have basically an entire new early game that you can build.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What do you think about Syndicate? Do you think Syndicate stays?
I think there's a very high chance Syndicate stays because I think Akali probably stays because they need a 5-cost assassin.
Yeah,
it's always been a 5-cost assassin if I remember correctly. Right? It was Viego in set 5. It was Kayn in set 4. It was Echo in set 3. So it's always been a 5-cost assassin, right? So Akali probably stays. If Akali stays, then Syndicate basically stays, right? Akali is Syndicate. So yeah. I think Syndicate staying is good. I actually kind of like the stay of Shaco right now. I don't think Shaco's out of line or anything. Syndicate's a pretty good comp, so I like that Syndicate stays.
Yeah, me too. I also there's total like left field decision. They could take out like bodyguards, you know.
But like,
But
what would you replace them with?
I'm not sure. You need something else frontline,
There's always
basically.
been an armor trait in the game. There's always been an armor trait in the game, is the thing,
Yeah.
right? It was Vanguard in set 4 and 3. It was Ironclad in set 5.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, oh, but set 5 also had Knights as its opener as well. But I
Yeah.
honestly don't like Knight. I actually don't like Knight at all
No.
as a defensive trait. I would
Yeah.
rather play against like I'd rather play against fucking bodyguards than Knights any time of the day.
So
Yeah.
realistically, then we have to keep
Mm.
bruisers and bodyguards in the set, which means that there's also
Yeah.
a significant amount of room that we can take to remove some of the problematic units in there that don't work. Which I think maybe means that you get rid of Brom. Maybe you replace Brom with
Yeah,
something else.
I think that's
They
a good
could
shot.
basically do a
Yeah.
whole 4-cost clean out, essentially.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like
Seraphine,
Braum
Jin,
can be replaced
Ori,
with like any tank.
Brom,
Yeah. Like
Scion
you could just find another
goes.
tank.
Yeah.
Just find another tank with a Mafia skin and just do that one instead and replace Braum.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not that bad.
Yeah, there's definitely an option to basically clean out most of the 4 costs and freshen it up.
Agree. Yeah.
Because of course you can
I think we've learned from 4.5. I think we've learned from like 4.5, right? That like game is a lot like feels almost spiced up when a lot of the 4 costs are switched out.
Yeah.
Rather than like a lot of the 1, 2s, and 3s. Like, because 5.5, basically like none of the 4s got switched and it felt like the unit pool was the exact same. 4.5, it felt like a completely fresh unit pool because all the carries and
all the carries were
util
totally
units got
different.
cycled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for sure.
Interesting. All right, guys. I'll give you one more while we just sort of chat about the new set potential. I'll give you guys one more minute if you want to ask any questions. But you excited for Silco? I mean, we might. We've sort of talked about Arcane. We've sort of talked about Arcane already. But if you guys haven't listened to Arcane, skip ahead now. But I mean, I was very, very surprised to see this become a thing. Like I really didn't expect it. And I hope they don't do it very much in the future. Basically,
I mean, we talked about this, right? I'm okay with that as long as it's league related. I just don't want to see any non-league related champions in this game. Please, Mortog. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, we did talk about this. I think realistically, at the end of the day, it's probably pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, because Riot's developing an MMO, like a dungeon crawler, a fighting game. Like, these are all cool things that can be implemented into the game if done correctly. Don't overdo it, basically.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
Because we don't want to play fucking. We came to play TFT to get away from League of Legends. That's all I'll say. Don't turn it back into League of Legends. You already need to know League of Legends related stuff basically to play this game. So that's guys, to be honest, that's going to do us for this evening. We are all done. Whether you are listening at home on the podcast apps, we are available on YouTube as well as Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you very much. If you're listening live on Twitch, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who joined us this evening. Sol, thank you for joining me. The most important thing, of course.
Sure. Pleasure to be here. Always a blast.
As always, next week we will be live on Tuesday because we missed last week due to scheduling commitments. Instead of doing every second week, we will do 2 weeks in a row, and then hopefully, without any scheduling issues in the future, we will go back to 2 weeks. But of course, you guys can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/rolldownpod to find out when we're going live and plans surrounding all of that. That'll pretty much do us. Sol, any last words before I let you get out of here?
No, other than it's great to be back. Looking forward to the coffee gear. Yeah, we'll see everyone again real soon in a week. So
we will certainly see everybody next week. We'll have a brand new patch to dissect and plenty more.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.